and that's it from my end. Handing over to Mr. Vaidyanathan.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Welcome to everyone. I hope you learn as much as I do from this session. Today, as as she mentioned in introduction, we're going to focus on. I'm going to talk about data analytics. I'm also going to try and lay special emphasis on how data analytics are applied in banking, or a much broader term, which is BFSI, which stands for banking, financial services, and insurance, right? So I'll also try and give you a wide perspective of how many different industries or different domains are there within BFSI, and then some very basic examples on how they are applied in banking. And I've been told I have around 35 minutes for the presentation, followed by Q&A. So I'll try and keep as much time for Q&A at the end. So with that, let me start. If all of you are able to hear me clearly, please give a quick thumbs up or yes on chat so that I know everything's good. So I say Hindi, please. So is the request is to have a session in Hindi? Sorry. Okay. Okay, but I'm not sure if everyone knows Hindi. So let me try and use Hindi and English both together. Let's see if it works. Okay, let me start then. So data analytics, right? So if you look at the history, I think data generation has been around for quite a long time. If you all are familiar with, say, some of your parents or grandparents, they used to issue, say, birth certificates or death certificates, right? Or even certificates around education, whatnot. And so data has been maintained in books, data has been maintained in ledgers, data has been maintained in individual databases. If those of you who have been around long enough, we had a huge, cupboard-sized boxes where that used to be the data server. Since then, of course, we have moved to a situation today where we have cloud. So all the data is now in cloud, and data, you don't have to store it yourself. You just have to pay for a service and everything's available. That obviously has allowed a massive amount of data to be collected and stored at a very cheap price. And that essentially has been a very big enabling factor in terms of the data analytics revolution, because the cost of collecting, storing, and using data has dramatically come down and has been made easily available to all, as long as you have an internet connection and a credit card, right? So that's how dramatically the situation has changed the last 10 odd years. So and then subsequently, of course, the open source revolution, where a lot of new programming languages, a lot of new packages, a lot of new ready-to-use solutions have been made available, which again has dramatically increased the adoption of AI/ML, so to speak. So we'll talk about those things as well. We'll also talk about some of the issues that are cropping up in terms of AI/ML adoption, especially privacy, security, and the need for a human to be in the decision-making loop and things like that. So with that, let me go to the next slide. So these are some of the things we'll be talking about. So before getting into banking, broadly, just a high-level idea of what different use cases are possible in different industries. So healthcare, I think all of us have gone through COVID, and we saw how data and analytics applied dramatically improved the ability of governments and citizens and other organizations to respond. More than respond, even understand what is going on, how the disease is spreading, what are the factors, and so on and so forth, right? So that, I think, has been a massive case study for almost the entire world. Retail, almost every one of us, I think, we have gone to a supermarket for sure. We have shared our phone number for sure. And most likely, all of you have received, recommendations saying, why did you buy this? I saw you bought bread. Why didn't you buy butter? You bought fruits. Why didn't you buy veggies? So on and so forth, right? So, retail, I think all of us, retail analytics has touched a lot of our lives as well. BFSI, something again, we'll be talking in detail. So I'm going to skip that for now. Education. I mean, this is a classic example, right? The webinar we're doing today. A lot of the people who join, a lot of the questions that are asked on chat, a lot of these things, they become data points, they are collected, and a lot better, say, delivery of training or delivery of knowledge or delivery of platforms are then possible to be designed. I'm just seeing some Q&A. Okay, I'll try and, okay. हिंदी, चलो हिंदी में ट्राई करते हैं. जिनको हिंदी नहीं समझ में आती है फिर बताना मुझे, देन आई विल ट्राई एंड स्विच टू इंग्लिश एज वेल. सो लेट्स सी हाउ इट गोस. ठीक है. सो एजुकेशन का मैं बात कर रहा था कि उसमें जितना हम डेटा कलेक्ट करते हैं उसमें बहुत सारे नए नए सोल्यूशन बनाने का जो है अभी विकल्प आ रहा है. लॉजिस्टिक्स, ये लॉजिस्टिक्स एरिया AIML बहुत सालों से यूज़ कर रहा है. सो जैसे आप अगर अमेजोन के वेयर हाउसेस देखोगे, सो देयर इज़ हार्डली एनी ह्यूमन इन्वॉल्व. मोस्टली सारे मशीन्स ही हैं, रोबोट्स हैं. आपने डार्क वेयर हाउस का टर्म सुना होगा. डार्क मतलब ऑलमोस्ट फुल्ली ऑटोमेटेड है, एज इन आपको लाइट्स की ज़रूरत नहीं है, आपको सिटी सेंटर में होना ज़रूरी नहीं है, आपका शिफ्ट का सिस्टम का प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बिकॉज ऑलमोस्ट सभी कुछ रोबोट्स और ऑटोमेशन के द्वारा ही काम होता है. सो ये सारे रोबोट्स फॉर एग्जांपल RFID टेक्नोलॉजी यूज़ करते हैं, स्कैन्स यूज़ करते हैं. दे टेक पिक्चर्स और वीडियोस ऑफ गुड्स टू अंडरस्टैंड कि इसमें कुछ फ्रॉड है क्या. अगर फ़ोन का डब्बा बहुत बड़ा हो या फ्रिज का डब्बा बहुत छोटा हो, या फिर ऐसे बहुत सारे फ्रॉड डिटेक्शन सब ऑटोमेटिकली होता है. सो लॉजिस्टिक्स में ये बहुत यूज़ हो रहा है आजकल. सिमिलरली आपके जो ट्रक्स हो गए या ट्रेन्स हो गए या कार्गो प्लेन्स हो गए, सो वहाँ पर ओके, I need someone from Imarticus to help me with this. I think there is demand for both Hindi and English.
We'll take in English only.
We'll take in English.
Will not go with the Hindi, because most of our majority audience are for the English, not for the Hindi.
Fine. I can't do it in both.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, I saw a question. So what type of models are used in logistics, right? So the models are not specific to industries. The models are specific to the business problem, right? So in logistics, for example, when I said we use image for fraud detection of the packaging, it's computer vision. If I were to decide which is the best route or the best mode of transport, right? So either trucks or trains or small commercial vehicles, highway or state highway or municipal roads, morning or evening, those then fall under the category of operational research or network optimization and so on and so forth. Similarly, in logistics, for example, you could also use that for preventive maintenance, right? Where you try and detect based on sensors in each of your vehicles, which vehicles may end up having a breakdown. It could be engine, it could be tires, whatever. So there, then you do predictive maintenance. So each of these are different business problems in one sector. And depending on the problem, then we choose the type of AI model. So it's not like, ABCs for logistics, XYZs for banking. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so let me continue with these slides. And yes, energy. So energy, I think, even if you notice in India, there are companies like Tata Power and NTPC, and I think even Adani Power, who use a massive amount of analytics to detect transmission losses, to detect supply surges or demand surges. They also use analytics to buy spot power, both in terms of quantity, price, and which location of which grid. Analytics is also used heavily to detect fraud, as in people trying to get power without a proper connection, trying to figure out who will pay or will not pay, and things like that, right? So energy, again, there are a lot of AI analytics that are being used. Recently, if in India, for example, if you're familiar with the Gati Shakti scheme, one of the small conditions mentioned there in India, they must also have additional provision for, say, gas lines and fiber optics. But most importantly, they're also having a provision to install, sensors, right? So you can install a lot of sensors all along, your fiber optic lines or power lines or gas lines. And that then, if you're familiar with the term IoT, a lot of analytics based on sensors is now going to get enabled in the next few years. So again, this is a classic example of both logistics and energy. So a lot of stuff is happening in the industry. And I think increasingly governments all across the world have realized the power of being able to enable the infrastructure around analytics and sensor. And India, I think most of you are familiar, 5G is going to come on. 5G by definition, for example, they have separate bands only for industrial use, right? So there are many providers in India who are now gearing up to provide 5G based services only for companies. And if I remember correctly, one of the bidders, they bought limited band just for the purpose of industrial use cases, not retail use cases. So a lot of ports, a lot of railway lines, a lot of coal mining or very hard to reach areas or very remote areas. I think 5G is going to work very well given the nature of its nature of how it works. So AI analytics and data is making huge leaps, more so in India than the rest of the world. So it's a very exciting time to be in that space. Okay. Okay. Now, why do we need analytics, right? So now we are trying to slowly shift focus a bit in banking as well. So when analytics and AI first started, it was used more as an assistant, right? Where the time required to just collect data or to just stitch data together took days or even weeks. And so the time to just make a decision used to be very long. And so a lot of the initial data efforts was idea was to try and get all of it in tables, try and write joins, try and create RDBMS if you're familiar, which is relational database management systems. The idea was to improve the time required to collect, organize, and present data so that a decision can be taken. I think that was the first set of use cases for data. There was not even much, AI/ML, so to speak, but it was mostly primarily around efficiency and time. And then eventually, as more and more digital adoption started, more than solving the problems of people, the security became a huge problem. I mean, even there's a recent report which says that more than 65% of thefts nowadays are going digital. People are hardly, putting themselves in physical danger of doing a crime. They try and resort to, digital ways of doing it. And so data analytics, unless you are capturing the behavior of all people on your website or your app or your digital solution, it is difficult to then prevent crime, prevent hacking, so on and so forth. So data analytics today is huge in the cybersecurity space. And then finally, a lot of data analytics today is also being used to actually improve the experience. So I think, I was told by Imarticus that a lot of you are either students or maybe less than 1 or 2 experience. So odds are you opened a bank account and you never visited a bank right after that, or maybe you never have, you never just have. Me, for example, I haven't visited a bank branch for almost 10 years now, right? Everything is made available. Nowadays, we have UPI, we have, all the apps on mobile phone. So you don't even have to go to your nearest ATM, right? Even that part of thing is gone. And a lot of these, app delivery, all the services through app delivery, whatever, cannot happen without a lot of data behind the scenes. So the day when some of you get to actually work on banking products or whatever, you will realize that all the behavior that customers do on an app or website is translated into behavioral analytics, so to speak, right? So where we try and examine how you're using and what you're using. So a lot of the software upgrades nowadays are made based on the usage of the previous version of the app. So how have you used it? Did you like a certain workflow? Did you like the landing page? Yes or no? Did you like the login logout options? Was it too difficult to add a beneficiary and things like that, right? So generally a lot of feedback is sought, but even based on behaviors, banks now are in a position to figure out what is the best customer experience. So, and even internally within banks, for example, when you do reconciliation, if you're familiar with the term, reconciliation is basically, let's say all of you are doing bank transfers. And in India, I think there are close to 50, 70 banks. So when all these transfers happen on a daily basis, at the end of the day, between RBI and the banks, there is a reconciliation where everyone sits down and, I mean, not physically, but I'm saying by way of data protocols, they share data on how many debits and credits have happened on a bank level basis. And then all that reconciliation happens. And a lot of this is powered by data analytics. Without that, today, for example, we would not have a 24/7 banking payments infrastructure. So yes, so I mean, so data analytics in banking is like fundamental. Even if you read a lot of research reports, the evaluations attributed to banks is heavily dependent on the adoption of technology. How much have you used? If you have no digital footprint, your valuations are lower. If you are innovating in the data analytics space and technology and digital space, then your valuations are higher because the cost of delivering is much lower. So. And if you're familiar with the recent, around 2 years back, RBI said that HDFC Bank cannot issue new cards or start new businesses because their digital infrastructure is not up to the mark, right? And for 2 years, for example, HDFC Bank could not issue cards. And so that is how important technology has become. And that, once you deploy that, data analytics also become equally important. Okay, so a brief thing on banking. So if you see 2009, digital check clearing had started already. Then if you notice EVM chips on your credit cards, right? Or debit cards. Of course, nowadays we have the NFC as well, but I'm saying way back 7 years back, that's what was happening. So if you have an account with HDFC or Kotak or ICICI or even SBI, you see those chatbots showing up, right? Eva, Kea, and I think, I don't know, those different names. So all those chatbots now let you do banking or get your statement or get your balance or whatever without having to either call someone or log into any website, right? Or so chatbots today is almost everywhere. Almost all major banks and NBFCs offer that. Similarly, if you look at the wallet system, although it was started by Google, I think in India at least Paytm, PhonePe, and especially Bheem has taken this up brilliantly. Where now I don't think cash is required at all. All right, I think 19% we can make do without cash. Quantum computing. This is a emerging topic. This is still in the stage of R&D. A lot of the quantum computing applications in real world are restricted to either trading, right? Trading is where you need speed, and quantum computing, like in principle, you can have almost infinite speed at which you can do calculations, right? What used to take hours or days can now happen in a matter of seconds and minutes. And so the current set of applications in quantum computing are generally restricted to trading and fraud and whatnot. But very soon, I think as the cost of quantum computing comes down, you will see a lot of applications even in the consumer space. So fast forward to 2021 or 2022, you obviously have blockchain and metaverse. Although metaverse, I think 2 days back, the CEO Mark Zuckerberg said that maybe his experiment with metaverse was not the best. He's relooking, blah and blah. I don't know, but metaverse at least last 2-3 years has caught the fancy of many people. So yeah. Okay, this is a slide I'm going to let all of you guys 30 seconds to read through that. Typically, when we say BFSI, a lot of people tend to know about retail banking, credit cards, maybe investment banking, but there's a lot more to it, right? So if you notice, there is life and general insurance. When you say general, it means motor, accident, health, medical, industrial, so on and so forth, and even factory insurance, so on and so forth. If you look at, say, private wealth management, I think I recently read an article that 66 lakh people or 6.6 lakh people from India have booked rooms and flights and whatnot to Qatar. So India obviously is becoming a very prosperous nation. And so private wealth management, right? So you have people dedicated who will only manage your assets, and that is becoming a fast growing area in India. You'll also, I think most of you would have possibly opened demat accounts during the pandemic for sure. And so brokerage is another BFSI space. Vendor finance is another space. So a lot of you would know, you have all of these motor showrooms, right? So say, let's say Tata Motors. So all of the vendors of Tata Motors spread all across India, basically avail of vendor finance solutions from say Tata Capital or someone. So that now is becoming an increasingly big area of demand in India. And then there are stock exchanges. And then if you look right at the top left, you have clearance counterparties, right? So if you're familiar with NSDL or CDSL, so these are the clearing corporations or clearing entities. So just imagine the number of trades that are made every day in India, and all of them have to be squared off, reconciled on the same day. And payments or shares have to be debited, credited in less than 2 days. So imagine the amount, the complexity and the amount of data that these institutions have to manage, right? So all I'm saying is BFSI is a very broad space. B is your banking, which is retail, investment, and corporate banking, and maybe cards. And then your financial services, which is clearance corporation, vendor finance, brokerage, payment banks, so on and so forth. And then you have I, which is life and general insurance, right? So if many of you will be familiar, in India, for example, insurance is broken into life and non-life, right? So life, for example, if you've heard of actuarial sciences, it's a very specific subtopic in life insurance where, and this is one of the oldest application of AIML, where they build what is called as life models or life expectation models, where they are saying that if I take a premium from, say, 100,000 people today, what are the odds that they will outlive the policy? And more importantly, what are the odds that they will die before the policy term ends, right? Essentially, these two gives the life insurance company a sense of how much money they should keep aside, how much they can invest, how much profit they can make, is it viable, not viable, so on and so forth. So this is a very, very specialized form of analytics in the life insurance space. General insurance, of course, anyone who's bought a vehicle or if any of you are working, you would have a health or medical policy. So yes, so that's also picking up big time. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me continue the slides. Okay, now the challenges in data analytics, right? So if any of you have done AI modeling or data science modeling, you'll realize that if you have just say 1,000 rows and say 5 columns, life is very easy. But increasingly, we are talking about billions of transactions and tens or 10, 20, even hundreds of columns that come up. And the challenge now becomes that at the point of data generation, almost no one knows if the data that we are capturing will or will not be useful. Even if it is useful, will it be useful in the format in which it was captured? And what kind of transformations you may have to do, what kind of data manipulation you may have to do, is the data quality good or no? And if you have types with external data providers, then are they providing good quality data? Is someone trying to hack our systems using external data, so on and so forth, right? So life has gotten a lot more difficult in the recent years, where if you have a very, very diverse data set and a very large data set, both internal and external, then there's a lot of work that has to happen even before you build the model in terms of making sure that you're using the right data, right? So this is now becoming a huge area of investment and has also raised the bar on return of investment on data analytics, right? So a lot of the big banks, they've spent billions just on data ingestion, and same thing on data quality and data security. And so even before you build the first AI model, a lot of money is already gone. Similarly, with more and more application of AI, I don't know if you guys would have read the news yesterday. A hacker in Australia kind of leaked the information, private health information records of Australian citizens, right? And so this is now becoming a problem where a lot of institutions or organizations who collect data, they form a very, very rich data set. But if they don't secure it, then this is what can happen. And so this is, if you may call it, a big headache for a lot of companies where although they may have got data, they have to first make sure it is secured, is not leaked, is not manipulated, and things like that. And so this again is becoming a huge investment. Similarly, I think a lot of you have heard of data lake, data virtualization, and previously you had RDBMS, now you have unstructured data, Hadoop, blah, 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 right? And so there are many data, say, aggregation frameworks. There are many technologies. So what to use, how to pick something that will last at least 10, 12 years. This now again has become a big challenge for not just banks, but anyone who's trying to build a data lake. So the history of data collection has been that individual departments, especially large companies, individual departments, they had their own technology, their own framework, and they collected data over a period of time. And then one fine day, someone woke up and said, let's create a data lake. But guess what? You now have to work with maybe 5 or 6 different copies of the same data spread across different regions, different departments. How do you get all of it together and build the golden version of the truth, if I may call it, right? So that is a big problem. The next one is processing capacity. Cloud has dramatically reduced the problem, but we still have issues with performance, right? So, for example, if you have a payments platform, everything has to happen in seconds, right? So that places a huge premium on performance, and it also means that companies delivering database solutions or digital solutions have to worry about processing capacity. Lastly, I think the application of data analytics is not complete unless you have at least 2 people, one each from the domain and one who understands domain as in banking or energy or power, and at least one who understands data and analytics and AML very well. So a minimum 2 people have to work together to build a very good solution. And that increasingly is a problem because both have different KPIs, different objectives in an organization. Getting them together and work together requires a big culture change. So you have to break a lot of silos in companies. You have to try and create common organizations where people of both skills are working together. So this is something that many big banks and organizations are changing in terms of culture and org structure. Okay. Yes, so use case of ML. I'll let you guys read this for 20 seconds, but this is just a very small sample. There is lot more happening. So in financial advisory, just to give an example, you guys would know about say Grow or Zerodha or other such companies in India, where if you download the app, they will give you suggestions on what to buy, stocks, bonds, equity, gold, real estate, what was the case, right? And a lot of this uses analytics. They pre-process a lot of data, and based on the type of person and type of your risk appetite, for example, they try and tailor recommendations for you. So there's one example of how these things have been done in BFSI. Okay, again, we'll try and focus on some specific topics, which is, as you see, data virtualization, blockchain, and metaverse. Blockchain, for example, is being heavily used in the international trade area, right? So just to give an example, historically, when a buyer and seller, say, ships 1,000 tons of rice or say, 1,000 barrels of oil from one place to another, before the ship leaves the seller's house or seller's factory, they need to buy something called as letter of credit. They need to buy insurance. They need to buy some risk premium. And then there are banks on 2 sides who kind of give protection or give underwriting to all of that, right? Similarly, on the buyer side, until the goods land, they don't release payment, right? Because that's a risk for them. And the seller wants to be sure that before he sends the ship out, the buyer makes a commitment that yes, he will pay if the buyer receives the goods. So this used to be entirely paper. Now with blockchain, and by the way, once it is paper, a lot of manipulation can happen, a lot of forgery can happen, a lot of fraud can happen, misrepresentation of facts can happen. But with blockchain, if all buyer-seller parties, two countries, two sets of banks on either side, they all come to common blockchain platform, and they upload a certain document or bunch of documents, then they cannot be manipulated, they cannot be edited, nothing, right? And so all parties involved, they log into this common platform, verify that yes, documents are in place, and then they give approvals, so to speak. So blockchain, for example, in international trade, has dramatically reduced both the risk premium as well as incidence of fraud. So that's just one example of how blockchain is changing the banking space. Great. So this is like a very high level area, high level representation of what happens in blockchain. But obviously there's more detailed videos and courses on this. So I would suggest anyone interested, please read up on that. I think blockchain, I've given examples. I'm going to move on. I think there's also blockchain. So yes. Okay. So data virtualization, right? If many of you are familiar with database or database technologies, what used to happen is you used to have multiple copies in multiple countries for the ease of access, for the ease of performance, so on and so forth. And many copies always means that one copy could be stale, one copy could have an advanced state of upgrade or edits or whatever, and that's a huge headache, right? Similarly, the speed at which you want data, again, used to be very slow, because if you had to transfer data from one country to another, then again, it takes a lot of time. So on and so forth. So there are many other, for example, challenges that banks and other industries had. And data virtualization has dramatically improved the efficiencies involved. And banks by nature are multinational corporations, and so for them, this has even more advantage. So this is something that has enhanced the rate at which data analytics are being adopted. I obviously know quite a few people who have an contrarian view on this, but today this is what it is. So yes. Okay, data governance. So even in India, for example, there is a concept paper that is out on, I think most of you, if you're following the news, you would know a new data bill, a new data privacy bill. All of them are in very advanced discussions. This is increasingly going to become a cost of compliance for all companies using AI/ML. This is both welcome and not welcome, because it protects the the privacy and rights of citizens. No, because it slows down innovation, right? So I think governments will have to strike a balance, and citizens also will have to kind of lower their expectations. But this is a very fast evolving area. I think there have been 3 or 4 drafts for the data bill in India, and then they were dropped and they're being redrafted, right? So you can imagine the amount of discussion and maybe even lobbying that's going on. But this is a topic that any of you, if you ever join corporates, you must be aware, and you must ask and make sure you're on the right side of the law. So yes. Okay. Metaverse. I don't know if any of you have used Metaverse. I have only done. I've only gone through videos. I'm not yet gone through an experience on how to log into Metaverse or how can you function in it. But this is being hugely adopted by banks, especially some of the foreign banks. Like I think JP Morgan Chase was one of the first big corporations to have a metaverse-based solution, where they, especially during the pandemic, the adoption went up because you could try to recreate the office atmosphere in metaverse and so on and so forth. So it's a very interesting way. Now the pandemic is over, I'm not sure if everyone wants to do interviews or have office meetings only on metaverse. But this is a promising area, at least as a concept. This has provided many alternates to how business can be done. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, very briefly, the structure of data science, how teams are set up. Generally, if the banks are in multiple areas of banking and in multiple countries, you tend to have a center of excellences, right? So for for data, you'll have one. For data engineering or quality, you'll have one. For data governance, you'll have a separate one. Data science, you'll have a separate one. And then they will have chapters in each of the individual countries to kind of serve and share the new techniques or the new discoveries that are made. In other cases, in smaller businesses, they tend to, each business unit, if they have sufficient budget, they have their own data science team. This is efficient when you're small, but as you grow bigger, it may be a problem because there could be a lot of redundant talent, multiple licenses, so on and so forth. But this is something that maybe 5-6 years down in your career, you may be required to think about this and organize your team. So think about it. But this is important, how you structure your team. That can dramatically improve the learnings and the collaboration between different units and countries. So this is also quite important. Okay, I'll let you guys read this, but based on surveys of a lot of CDOs and CIOs and even other CXOs like CEO or CFO, I think more and more the mention of AI analytics in their annual reports, in their press conferences are going up. Many banks have decided to not outsource, but also have a small core team within them, because they believe data and AI solutions based on that can be a reason of competitive advantage, where they want to create an IP around it. They want to protect their algos. They want to protect their strategies. And these strategies are almost entirely based on data and AI. So this, a lot of you who want to have a career in data and AI, think about banks. You could end up building the next IP product. So, okay. So here again, some more use cases. I think we spoke about some of around security and customer experience. But one of the things, the third one, which is around loans, right? So this, for example, I think many of you recently would have seen schemes from different banks where they say a loan has been pre-approved for, I don't know, 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs or whatever. Just log in, click, say yes, and the money will be disbursed, right? So how do banks determine that you're a good candidate for a pre-approved loan, where they already decided the amount, they already decided if they're going to give pre-approval, yes or no? A lot of this can happen only by way of data analytics, where you decide based on past credit history, what types of people, what kind of income, what kind of cash flow, what kind of career you may have, what kind of salary growth you'll have, and so on and so forth. Based on all these factors, they are in a position to decide, okay, by the way of all the hundred thousands of customers that we have or employees that we have, we are going to make these offers. And these are possible only with data analytics, right? Previously, unless you go to a branch and make an application, no loans were issued to you, definitely not pre-approved. I'm conscious of time. I have a lot more slides, but I'm going to stop here. If there are any Q&A, I see many have come up on chat and the Q&A box. So I can either take that or I can take questions on video. Please let me know. Anita?
Yes.
Let me know if if people can unmute themselves, ask questions, or I can start with the chat. Let me know. Either way is fine.
Yeah, we will ask the questions via chat box only.
Okay.
So guys, if you have any questions, you can drop in the Q&A box. Then the speaker will be taking the questions.
Okay. Q&A, I can pick some questions. Hi, I'm from Karnataka. I completed a degree. Education. I mean, yes, you can join a course. You can learn on your own. So yes, it's up to you. Try focus not as much on programming languages, but for AI analytics, if you want to do AI/ML, you must focus a lot on statistics. You must know the algorithms. You should have a decent knowledge of linear algebra, geometry, statistics, maths. That's very important. Sai Vishal, what is the common big data framework to banking use? So again, the nature of the bank, and the nature of the operations determine. So investment banks and clearing corporations tend to have very voluminous data. Retail banking tends to have a lot of transactions, but not necessarily many columns. NBFCs and say brokerages, they have different data requirements. So banking, if you remember the slide around the different types of companies or industries within BFSI, it's very huge. So there's no one common framework. But yes, the way to approach is get the business problem first, and then figure out what is the right framework to be applied. So, okay, meeting किस चीज की है? I don't know if I can answer that. I think Anita, I think you can answer that. Data science is going to end. So when you say end, if you're referring to will data stop being used, I don't think so. That is going to, I think, remain forever. More and more digital adoption that happens, then there is less and less reliance on intuition or people making decisions on what they think is right or wrong. Almost invariably, all business discussions are, whenever there are two opinions or two ways of solving a problem, typically the tiebreaker happens to happen with data. The so-called one side will say, can you bring data to justify your argument or justify your proposal or whatever. So data is not going to end, data science is not going to end. So yes, foreseeable future, no, I don't think it's going to happen. I have one I'm looking at Sanjay Setu's question. What way all these data science? Sorry, I didn't get that question. I have one connectivity, I work at supply chain. I didn't understand that, Sanjay. If you can expand on the question, great. Otherwise, I'll move on. So data scientist and data analyst. So typically, data analyst tends to do a lot of BI work, as in interpretation of data. Data scientist typically gets into predictive. So that probably is the most basic difference. But yes, in different companies, they describe this differently. But analyst typically looks at historical data only and tries to draw inference based on what they're able to observe. Data scientists, on the other hand, uses historical data to build algos so that they can predict in the future. So yes. Do we require prerequisite knowledge about coding? Yes. So coding is necessary. You don't have to be an expert in coding. There are softwares that reduce the complexity of coding, but coding is required. Most analytics today do not happen on paper. It happens digitally, which means you have to know a bit of coding. Yes. You should know at least one language. Yeah. Can weak students in quantitative mathematics go for data analytics field? If you're going to do data science, as in predictive modeling, AI modeling, the answer is no. If you don't like maths, then you obviously may not be a good fit. But if you want to do a lot of data engineering, data quality, or business intelligence, so to speak, then yes, maths is not the top skill, but basic mathematics you should know. Yes. Okay. Sai Vishal, how will feature factory be used in retail? Sorry, I don't know what do you mean by feature factory. There is something called as a feature store in analytics that is being used in many industries. Yes. Okay. Sorry, the question from Suma, I don't know. I think Anta, you may have to answer. Yeah. Question from Prakar Gupta. How can you get a job as a fresher, as a completed? I think start applying. I don't know what else to say. If you have finished your course, then start applying. I would suggest to build your credentials, you can go visit websites like Kaggle, where a lot of public open source AI and data challenges are thrown out. And anyone on the planet with an internet connection can go and participate in those competitions. You can, so it's kaggle.com, KAGGLE.com. You can go register, pick a problem, download the data, solve the problem, upload it, and you get a global ranking system based on how accurate or how good your results are or how innovative your results are. And typically, a lot of people hiring data scientists. If you have a Kaggle score, if you have a Kaggle good ranking, it's your half the interview is already done. So yeah. That is what I'd like to say. Is there any hackathons that you see that are being put out by various companies or various industry associations? Please do participate. A lot of talent hunting happens in these hackathon events, where if people like the way you've coded, they like the way you approach the problem or how you've described your problem-solving approach, you may be hired on the spot. So yes. Amit Raj, I'm guessing you said except, right? Except I am which colleges? Colleges, I think a lot of the material or the curriculum or the concepts are available for free downloads, right? You may want to have a good mentor who can help you understand these things and do some good projects. There are online courses, there are colleges. So I'm not an expert in that. But I am not the only one. A lot of the IITs and NITs do that. If you're in Bangalore, a lot of the local colleges do very good courses. There are independent professional upskilling. I think just like Imarticus, there are many people who prepare people for data science. So yes, there are many options today. Please refer the source to learn statistics for algorithms. So Anita, I think there may be courses in Imarticus for learning statistics. Other than that, if you know anyone who is doing a BSc or MSc in statistics, I think that entire course curriculum can be a great base for starting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we at Imarticus have few of the courses in regards to the data analytics and machine learning, where we have other programs like one we have with the iHub, that is ENICT Academy, where also we are providing more information about the statistics for the algorithm. However, if you for more details, you can visit to our website imarticuslearning.org. There you will get more the in-depth detail about the course you're looking for, about the topic which you're looking for. I guess there is no more questions. Suma, what is the motive of this webinar? As you are doing the BCom now, so Sima, it's more about understanding data analytics, and hence the overall webinar objective was to know more about what is going overall in regards to the data analytics or the data science. And it's not necessary that if you're doing a BCom or if you are doing BA, so you can't learn some other features. If anyone has more questions, please let me know. There is one more question for you, Vaidyanathan. It's are we going to do pre-designed projects, or we can create our own projects so that we can showcase our work to the employer? You're on mute.
Yes, I got muted. Sorry. Yes, so I mean, if the course has a lot of projects, then that's one way to do it. Otherwise, as I said, there is a very well-known website called kaggle.com, put it on the chat. This website is a very large open source collaboration project across the world, where people for many years now have been solving a lot of data and AIML projects. And many corporates, many governments, many institutions put out the problem there. They put out the data and they say, please go solve it. And every now and then, cash awards or job offers are made for the people who best solve the problem. So this is a great way for many of you to go benchmark yourself against the rest of India, rest of the world. And as I said previously, many talent hunts, start and end at Kaggle. Many CVs, job descriptions increasingly say, if you have a Kaggle account or a GitHub account, please share, right? So people want to see the quality of your code, quality of your approach, and that's a great way to bump up your hiring prospects.
There is one more question from Simran Sharma, that is the MBA worth it for data analytics, or should I go for the course?
I would not know the MBA curriculums. I'm not an expert on that. So sorry, I can't answer that.
I guess go do the course from Imarticus Learning, you will get the job also.
Sure.
Any more questions? And I guess there is no more question left. So thank you so much for taking such a wonderful session, for knowing people about the data analytics, how they everything is performing in their businesses right now. So guys, if you have any more questions, you can directly ping to our Dropbox, or you can go to the website www.imarticus.org, where you can uh, explore about our programs in regards to the analytics, where few of our program is job guaranteed for the early comers in the working professional, like 0 to 3 years of experience, or who is a latest graduate in the year 2022. And we have some good programs with IITs, IIT Roorkee, ENICT Academy, IIT Guwahati, where the people who are having experience more than 3+ years can explore briefly about the overall curriculum, and they can take the certifications, they can upskill their overall resume. I guess, yeah, that's it for today. If you have any more doubts, please visit our website, and if you can directly drop me an email also, and whoever wants the recording also, please drop me an email to anita.gaur@imarticus.org. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Vedyanathan. I hope we will again meet soon, and
Sure.
we'll conduct again a new webinar next month. And just last thing for all the participants for today's webinar. So Imarticus is currently going through a career fair, career counseling. This is the second last day for the career counseling fair, where what we are providing you is a scholarship worth up to 1 crore. Yes, that's right. So, what you have to do to get a scholarship for our job guaranteed program is visit to our nearest center. If people are in Mumbai or in any other state, we have the center. You can visit our website, go visit to the nearest center, counsel about the product, counsel about the program, whatever you are looking for. Either it's regarding to the PGA. Post graduation in data science and machine learning, or as a full stack developer course, or if you're looking for a job in cybersecurity, or even some few of them are looking for the job in the investment banking also. So go counsel yourself, get upskill your knowledge regarding to any of our courses, and once you enroll, we will give you a scholarship worth amount of rupees 1 crore. So for more details, you can go to the website. You can check our overall the program. You can talk to our counselor on our chat box, which is available on the website. And there are the live counselor who will going to help you with all the details. So now it's time for us to wrap things up. Thank you again for joining the webinar. If you have any questions, you can get back to me anytime. Thank you so much, Mr. Vedyanathan, for giving such a wonderful session.
Thanks all.
Signing off for the webinar. Thank